everyone, and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, it is that time of the year where we are all going green in honor of St. Patrick's Day. I think that despite everything crazy that's going on in the world right now, sometimes even if you are just staying at home and on lockdown, you can still throw on some green eyeshadow and feel pretty. So that's what I did today. While I can't leave the house, I'm going to look really cute. I love how this look turned out. I keep feeling like I want to add something or play with something, and I needed to put my brushes down and be like, nope, you're done, you're good, it's perfect, stop. And I'm actually happy with how it turned out. I keep looking in the monitor, I'm like, that green is so pretty. Anyway, if you want to see how we got this, make sure to keep on watching, and don't forget to subscribe. I upload 3+ times a week, and that's going to be the best way to stay up to date on all the fun stuff I'm posting. So if you want to see how we got here and celebrate a little St. Patrick's Day, stay tuned. Alright, so my eyes are already primed. I'm going to zoom you guys in. I'm going to be using the ABH Norvina Collection Volume 2, the blue one, obviously. And we're going to be doing something very green today. I picked this because there's some, different types of green tones. I didn't want, my normal, traditional, cliche green and gold. There's nothing wrong with that, but I've done that look so many times. So I'm going to pull you guys in. Alright, I'm going to start going in with a very light hand and taking a tiny bit, a very small amount of E4, the dark brown. And I want such a small amount of this. I'm going to lean my head back and really just trace the crease. There really isn't a transition shade in this palette because it's not meant to be a super neutral palette. It's really meant to be more for brights. So if you want to go in with super bright colors, there are options. But if you want a neutral definition, you're going to have to go in with a very light hand and a very deep brown. Once that transition area is set, I'm going to take D2, the orange, and I'm going to start at the crease line and buff up. I've said this in any video I do with a cool toned color like a green, but whenever I go in with a really cool toned eye, I like to really buff out the crease with a warmer tone, because that's going to help to set a little bit of contrast down so it's a little bit more vibrant. The green will pop more next to that orange. So next I'm going to jump into B3 right here, which is a true toned green. And I'm going to take quite a bit of that on the tip of a packer brush. And I'm going to start by really packing that all over the lid. I'm going to end up cutting the crease and adding some definition in a little bit, but I do want to lay down this green first, just so I have a better idea of where everything else is going to be. And once I have that color laid down, I'm going to trace up to that transition in the crease, but not buffing it higher than that color. Alright, now that the base is set, I'm going to take a little bit of E3, which is a little more of a turquoisey green. On camera it looks green, but there's definitely some blue undertones in there, and a little bit of E4, that same dark brown. And I'm going to mix the two of those shades and pull that towards the outer portion of the eye to give us some definition. Going back into that first brush, just going to kind of dust everything up, make sure the edges are blended. And now that we have that definition on the outside, I'm going to take more of B3, that shade again. And I'm just going to blend the center of the lid towards the outer portion where we just added that dark color with that first green, just to make sure that the green really pops. Alright, at this point, I pretty much am done packing stuff on, so I'm no longer afraid of the under eyes getting gross. So I'm going to go throw on my complexion, and I'll be back to finish up the eye look. Okay, so most of the base is on. I really just did a little contour and a little bronze. I will blush and highlight and all that after the eyes are done, because I really don't know how intense I want the skin to be until the eyes are finished. Going back into the brush I used on the green, I'm just going to trace that crease one more time. Make sure everything is blended. And then I think we're ready to try our shimmer shade. So I may hate this and then end up covering it with glitter, but I figured I should try it out. I'm going to take A3, which is right here in the center, It is very neon. And I am going to load that up on my brush, and I'm going to spray it down with a little bit of the Jungle Setting Spray from Wet n Wild and Bretman Rock. And let's see how intense this looks. Because I don't want this to come off as yellow, but I still want that neon green. Yeah, I like that. So I'm really concentrating it on the very center of the inner corner and pulling that up, but I'm not actually putting that all the way because I don't want to cover up the green. I really just want to like blend it and diffuse it over the green, if that makes sense. Like that. So you still have that green coming through with just that pinpoint of that neon color on the very innermost part of the eye. That same brush from earlier, just tracing that crease again. And then I'm going to take B3 again, that same green we've been using, and I'm just going to blend in between the outer corner and that shimmer shade, because I do want to make sure that it comes across as green and not neon yellow. The neon would look really pretty any other day, but for a St. Patrick's Day look, I feel like we should be traditional and let it be green. Taking a tiny bit more of the brown, I say a tiny bit and then I load up. I'm going to take a tiny bit and really just on the very outer corner, almost in a circular motion, just trace that outer portion of the eye, because the shape I'm going to do when I connect it to the liner on the lower lash is going to be a lot rounder today. Normally I do like to kind of connect it in an elongated wing, but today I want it to be extra round. Clean blending brush, just gonna soften the edges again. Now with this palette, these are pressed pigments, not eyeshadows. So normally I would like throw on a grungy liner and I would buff this into my waterline. With eyeshadows, that's okay. With cosmetic grade glitter, that's okay. With something like this where it is considered a pressed pigment, not an eyeshadow, I don't recommend like putting it directly in your waterline. So I'm going to grab a green liner instead. So I'm going to take Mildew from Urban Decay. And I'm also going to be taking, this is Dimensional Dark Brown from Makeup Forever. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the green. And I'm going to take that all the way from the inner corner to about here, 2/3 of the way into the lower lash. Then taking the brown, I'm going to go from the outer portion of the eye, and I'm going to take it and overlap it just a little bit on the outermost portion of the lower lash. And then blending it about halfway into the lid, just so I get that green to brown blend. Grabbing a pencil brush with no product on it, I'm just going to gently buff that liner down a little bit, starting on the outer portion, and then once I feel like I have it as low as I want it to go, then I will connect to the inner corner. Now that my waterline is done, I can go in with the shadows around that area because I'm not going to be taking them directly into the waterline. So starting with, again, B3, that same green we've been using, I'm going to, with a light hand, blend that under the waterline. Because it's looking a little bit on the blue side, I'm going to go into D4, the yellow. And I'm going to, actually no, I'm going to go into A2, the lime green up here, because it is still on that yellowy side, which will help to make the blue look more green. But because it is a green base, not a yellow base, I don't think it'll get as overdone. Oh yeah. See how this eye already looks more green and this one still looks more blue? Don't forget, you can always layer your eyeshadows. And then with E4, that dark brown that we've been using for the entire look, I'm just going to gently connect the outer corner of the lower lash to the outer corner of the upper lid, just like that. And normally I would take that directly up. Today, you guys notice I am connecting and then rounding. Because again, I want this to be a little bit rounder today and not quite so flared. Same clean blending brush. All right, we're getting there. Going into, where's my detail brush? Going to the same brush I used on the lid, I'm gonna take A3, the metallic shimmery neon green, and I'm just going to take that dry, and I'm just going to wrap it around the inner corner and pull it towards the lower lash. I think I was covering up the camera for that entire thing, so I'm gonna do it again over here. I close my eye, I pull it over the inner corner, and then under the lower lash. And I'm gonna go in 1 or 2 times just to gently build that up. I'm not spraying it because I don't want this to be super vibrant because I'm gonna be highlighting over it, but I do still want that green pulling in the color. So you see how on the inner corner you get a little bit of that green, but not too much. Because then when I go in with my highlighter, which is going to be really bright, you get a much bigger impact because we're layering it over a bit of highlight already. All right, because I'm so excited that it came back out and it was relaunched, I'm going to be using the Anastasia Nicole Guerrero Glow Kit. This is my original one from years ago, which I'm still obsessed with and can't get rid of. I'm going to go into Forever Lit, the white shade, which is one of my favorite inner corner highlights. And I'm going to, in the very center of that green, add a pinpoint of highlight. And then whenever I highlight my inner corner, I always tell you guys this, kind of look up and pull that color onto the lid so that it doesn't look quite as stark. Unless that's what you're going for. But that's not what I'm going for. And then just blend under it just to soften it a little bit. And see, because we put that lime green down on the inner corner, it's making that white really pop as if it was a neon green, and you're getting kind of the best of both worlds. All right, I'm gonna pull you guys out, throw on mascara, probably skipping the lashes, because St. Patrick's Day is the one day you really want the green to look, and I don't really have green lashes, so I'm gonna stick to just mascara, and then we will tie up the rest of the face. All right, mascara is on. I started with a coat of the Charlotte Tilbury Legendary Lashes Volume 2, and then I took a coat of the Beauty For Real High Def to comb it out and comb through. And honestly, I really like how it looks. At this point, we're going to go into everything else on the face. So I'm going to take that same setting spray that I used on the Shimmer shade, and I'm going to add a little bit of glow back to the skin because of the amount of powder I put on. We could use a little more life. And now I think we have a good amount of warmth to the face to contrast the eyes, so I don't want to go in with too much more bronzer, but I am going to be grabbing the Alamar Blush Trio. This is in medium tan, and I'm going to go into a mixture of Isla and Toasted. I want to go a little bit deeper today, and I'm really just going to concentrate that on the apple of the cheek. And see how on this side it just kind of pulls everything from that crease together? So everything just looks a little bit more cohesive. And whatever's left on the brush, on the tip of the nose. Because this shade right here, Seclusion, has a little bit of shimmer in it, I'm going to take a tiny bit of that on a highlighter brush, and I'm going to just kind of buff that above the eye. Something I love when I go in with a warm tone is taking a little bit of blush and using that as almost like a transition shade and a highlight for the brow bone, because it's kind of doing a little bit of both. And whatever's left, just kind of circular motions onto the cheek to tie it all together. Going into that same glow kit we used on the eyes, I'm going to go into Glow Getter and Daydream. So it's an orangey salmon color mixed with a bronzy shade. And we're just going to highlight the highest points of the face. You guys see why I love this highlighter palette so much? This formula is beautiful, and you can get a little more subtle, or you can really amp it up to take it to blinding. It's one of those formulas that is so easy to work with. And you guys know I like to take my blush brush and pull the glow down onto the cheeks, just so that you don't get that stripe on the face, just so it becomes a little bit more glowy everywhere. Now the one thing that can make or break this is the lip. I was originally going to go in with a green lip, but honestly I think it'll be a little bit much. So instead I'm going to go in with something a little bit more neutral. Normally, you guys know me, I will either go in with something super peachy as if I have nothing on, or a dark brick vampy red, and I think either would go with this. So instead I'm going to actually go in a completely different direction and do a traditional red. I'm going to swatch it first just to make sure it doesn't go too Christmassy, but I think I want something a little bit more in that neutral red tone. So I'm going to start with the Makeup Forever pencil in Free Burgundy, which is, not going to lie, a little vampy, but I'm just using this to line, so it's not going to be the whole lip color. And now that we have that down, I'm going to go into the M Cosmetics Ruby Wine Gloss. This is a red, actually this might be a little vampy. I don't know. I remember it being a lot more red, but it looks like it's going to be dark. Alright, it's somewhere in between the two. For how much I love this gloss formula, I don't wear it nearly enough. And because this is a gloss and the shimmer and shine of it mess with the opacity, I'm going to take the liner just to clean up the edges. And I think that's where I want to leave this. I keep like looking in the mirror and I'm like, I want to mess with the red, I want to play around with the lip or fix the eye, but honestly, I think I need to just take a step back and be like, nope, I'm done. I even pulled out like some gemstones to be like, I'm going to throw some crystals on the eyes. And honestly, that I think would take this to a level where it is a little too much even for me. So I'm going to call that the look. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I keep like looking at myself in the monitor, like really loving this. Because of that neon-y lime green, I think it's not pushing Christmas. I think it definitely reads St. Patrick's Day, which I am very happy with. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!